Welcome to the Game Sense Football Podcast. You're with us, Ewan and Nas. And in today's episode, we talk about the shock results of league winners after Bayer Leverkusen's win this season. Now, just stay with us this episode as we run through a list of some of the most surprising trophy winners that we think have happened over the last few seasons. Now, Nas, do you like surprises?
I think, yeah. I don't know where this is going, but yes, I like surprises.
Okay, so what do you think is the best surprise that has happened to you, off the top of your head?
Well, this sounds quite mundane, but there were a couple of times where somebody surprised me with some just very nice chocolate cake, and I do like a good chocolate cake.
So chocolate cake surprises you. And I mean, chocolate cake surprises are delightful,
Yes,
basically.
yes.
Okay. And who would be the person or people to be giving you these surprise chocolate cakes?
It is, of course, my lovely wife,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess she was my fiance and girlfriend before that, but she has surprised me with cake a few times before, yes.
Okay. So shout out to Naz's ex-girlfriend and current wife. Keep the chocolate cakes coming.
We aren't dating anymore because we're married.
Nice. Okay, so let's go on to the episode. So Bayer Leverkusen recently actually been officially recognized as champions-elect of the Bundesliga. At the time of recording, there are 16 points, I believe, ahead of second place Bayern Munich with only 15 points left to play for. So no more Neverkusen.
No more Neverkusen. Yes, I remember. It was 2001, right, when they lost the league, the DFB Pokal, and the Champions League in the span of a week. Now they're on course for their own treble. No Champions League, but they beat West Ham 2-0 in the Europa quarterfinals. Was it first leg?
Mhm.
The other week, and as you said, they've secured the league title with 5 games to go, and they are in the final of the DFB Pokal, the German Cup, against second division Kaiserslautern. So very likely they'll finish with at least one more trophy after this first ever Bundesliga title win.
Yeah, and I think what makes this victory this season, so surprising is that when Xabi Alonso took over as manager, they were actually fighting relegation. I believe second from bottom, something like that, the previous season. And, in the span of less than a year, he actually turned things around quite drastically, not to mention the 43 match unbeaten run as of now.
Yep. 43 games in all comps, unbeaten. And yeah, as you said, when he took over, they were very much in danger of being relegated. So he took over early last year, but in that span of time, he's saved the club from relegation and turned them into this monster team that has beaten everybody in front of them, playing nice football. And I think we have to also recognize that last year and this year, he's played two very different styles, both been very successful. He's not always just gone with this 3-4-3 with the flying wing backs. Last year was more of a 3-4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. But yeah, like it just goes to show how talented a coach he is and how he's managed to instill this mentality and system and belief in this team in such a short span of time. And like they've brought in a number of players like Granit Xhaka, like Jonas Hoffman and Victor Boniface, I think. And none of them for huge money. So by no means are they spending to buy the title. But how quickly and how shrewdly has he molded, forged an amazing team.
Yeah, and you mentioned the flying wing backs, right? I think they've helped the team a lot in terms of contributing to the attack. There's some pretty good stats there from Grimaldo, the left wing back, right? 9 goals and 12 assists in the league. Former
Yep.
Barcelona player.
Yep, Alex Grimaldo.
Very impressive.
And Jeremy Frimpong on the other side, the right wing back who used to play as a right midfielder or right winger. He's a Dutch international who can barely speak Dutch. I found out today that he was actually eligible for England. Not that we're all England supporters, but he was from the Man City Academy. He played alongside
Hmm.
Phil Foden and Cole Palmer, which is quite a surprise. And so he left there in 2019, I think it was. But yeah, he's 23, amazing player, but very much flying right wing back.
Still a very young player. I think we can expect to see him moving to probably some big name clubs in the future.
I guess so, but we thought the same for the manager Xabi Alonso. Well, many people did, but a few weeks ago you predicted he wouldn't leave. He wouldn't leave Leverkusen.
And I was right.
You were right,
And I was right. Yes. Should have put my
very
money
much
on
so.
that.
Yep. Some of the other star players, like I said, I mentioned Boniface earlier, the Nigerian striker, strong, fast, good in the air. Not the most technically sound player, but it suits their system. He's as just being like a focal point, hard running, just barges through people. Also, just bought. He was playing in Belgium before that, so he wasn't even the star Nigeria striker. Of course, they have Osimhen as well, who has been tearing it up for Napoli before that. So I guess
Mhm.
he's got competition. But the other star player, I guess, is Florian Wirtz, who
Yeah.
they purchased from, I want to say, Cologne, their academy, when he a few years ago for less than €500,000.
What a bargain.
What a bargain. He's an amazing player. If you've never seen Florian Wirtz play before, you should. He's a bit like a Phil Foden, cross between a winger and a number 10 attacking midfielder. And his close control, his dribbling, his passing. He scored a hat trick this past weekend in the
Mhm.
game that secured them the title. And oh, he's just so good. So good.
Yeah, I think Florian Wirtz has been one of those young German players who've been kind of identified as a potential wonder kid for some years already. And I think he's
Mm.
finally, we're finally seeing him progress to fulfilling that promise, I think.
I think you're right. I think people were saying that he needs to go to like a Dortmund or a Bayern or even a Leipzig so he could win something so he could elevate himself. But I mean, he's now the like crown jewel of the title of the champion. So I think he's done that and then some now.
Yep, agreed. But as good as Leverkusen have been this season, I was just looking up, on past Bundesliga winners, of course. Bayern won the last 11 years, and you have the occasional Dortmund wins.
Hmm.
But it seems like there are some surprises here and there, over the past 2 decades in the Bundesliga. One of them was Stuttgart in 2006, 2007 season. This was surprising because they weren't really flying high before that. The previous season they finished ninth in the league, but the year that they were crowned champions, two familiar names would have played a role in that, and one was I think about the 20-year-old Sami Khedira, and another was a 21-year-old Mario Gomez. So these two, mainstays in the German national team for the next decade after that, right? So that's kind of a nice little story about them. And another one, I'm not sure if you would consider this to be a surprise, but when Jürgen Klopp won the first Bundesliga for his Dortmund team, I think 2010, 2011, at that time they were not expected to
Mm.
win, and I think this successful season kind of catapulted him into the consciousness of international fans. The team had like the younger, I guess, Robert Lewandowski, Mats Hummels, all these players, Shinji Kagawa as well,
Mm.
went to Man
Yeah.
United after that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so all these players we take for granted now that wow, they're superstars, but at that time they were not yet flying as high as they have been, the past 10 years.
Yeah, and Klopp himself wasn't the Klopp we know now. He came from Mainz, I think it was, and
Mm-hmm.
with that team, he sort of popularized the rock and roll gegenpressing style of football that now so many German teams and managers like to use, even outside of Germany. There was also one thing I sort of just realized was Edin Dzeko
Mm.
helping Wolfsburg win a few years. It was between Stuttgart and Dortmund. I want to say 2009. For some reason, I always forget that Dzeko has won the Bundesliga, and it's forgettable in a strange way.
Yeah, I believe Wolfsburg won a year after Stuttgart, so it would be 2008, 2009.
Mm.
Um, Not a very memorable team, if you ask me. I think Edin Dzeko, and I believe they had Andrea Bazzagli in the team
I
as
think
well.
you're right. I think you're right. But like the fact that Stuttgart and this Wolfsburg team was different from the Dortmund team, because the Dortmund team had a lot of young players who people had earmarked for stardom, whereas you look at that Stuttgart and that Wolfsburg team,
Mm.
less, not so much.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I've got one more that, I think it's gonna be, this is a good one. Okay. So
Go on.
do you know that there's only been one Bundesliga champion that has been a newly promoted side
In the
up till
history of the
today?
Bundesliga.
In the history of Bundesliga, there has only been one promoted side to have won the Bundesliga the year they got promoted.
Go
Yeah.
on.
Okay. So Kaiserslautern is Kaiserslautern.
Kaiserslautern.
Yes, Kaiserslautern in 1997, 1998. They
Mm.
didn't really have star players, but there's one guy, youngster, who would go on to be a big player. His name, Michael Ballack.
Michael
So
Ballack was in that
Michael,
Kaiserslautern team,
yeah, Michael Ballack was in the
and
Kaiserslautern team,
later in the Neverkusen team.
and later in the Neverkusen team, exactly. So Michael Ballack in Kaiserslautern, 97, 98, and this team was managed by a man called Otto Rehagel. Sound familiar?
Otto Rehagel. He does sound familiar.
Yeah. So Otto Rehagel was also the man who led Greece to Euro 2004 title.
So
So this
well,
guy's like a footballing god, man.
he's so he won the Bundesliga with Kaiserslautern the year they got newly promoted, and won the Euros with Greece less than 10 years later. Oh yeah.
Yep. 6 years later. Yeah.
Oof. What?
Yeah, this
Oh,
guy's this guy's like a footballing god.
never bet against Otto.
Never bet against Otto. I mean, he's 85 years old now, so I don't think you get the chance.
Yeah, I
But
guess not.
but Greece, I mean, when I was younger during that time, I've always known them to be. I mean, they've been pretty much a nothing much kind of team, right? Before Euro 2004, they only qualified for the Euros once ever before that, and that was in 1980. One of my earliest memories of watching football was in the 1994 World Cup, where Argentina hammered Greece. Batistuta scored a hat trick, and Diego Maradona scored as well before he was sent home.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. So Greece, they beat hosts Portugal in the group stages. They actually drew with Spain, and they lost to Russia. But they actually went into
Knockout.
knockout rounds. Yes, the knockout rounds. Based on scoring more goals than Spain. So they were level on points with Spain. They scored more goals. They went through instead, where they beat France. They beat Czech Republic on the silver goal rule. Remember that?
Silver goal. That's something
Silver
you haven't
goal.
seen for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. So silver goal rule, and met Portugal again in the final, where of course we know now that they emerged victorious. What a story! One of the biggest shocks
This was
in football.
in Portugal, right?
Yeah, this was in Portugal. So
Yeah.
Portugal were the hosts
Portugal were host and lost to Greece twice.
with a Cristiano Ronaldo in the team as
Mm.
well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Masterminded by Otto. But
Yes.
I remember that Greece side, just Charisteas and all, just really focusing on route one direct football, making the most out of set pieces. But you people always say you can't win with those kinds of tactics. But Greece has shown
I think,
yeah.
yeah, I think it's the tournament mentality as well, right?
Mm.
So perhaps not in the long run, where you're playing a league over a full season, but in a space of playing 6 games in a month, 6 games. I think you could do that. You're kind of squeezing the joy out of the game, but at the end of the day, it's the results that matter, right? And what everybody remembers now is that Greece were the shock winners of the Euro championships in 2004, and no one really talks about the boring football that they played, right? But you know what? Greece were not the only shockers in a Euro tournament. So if you go a little bit back,
Mm-hmm.
in Euro 92, Denmark won the tournament. And what's outrageous is that they didn't even qualify for it.
That was Yugoslavia getting
Correct.
yeah.
Correct. So Denmark, was only invited to participate after civil war broke out in Yugoslavia.
Mm.
And so Yugoslavia was kicked out of the tournament, and Denmark, being runners-up in the qualifying group behind Yugoslavia, were invited in to participate. And wow, did they participate, man? They beat like Netherlands, one of the best Netherlands teams ever, with Frank Rijkaard inside, with Marco van Basten,
Pull it, you know.
Ruud Gullit and all. Yeah, they beat Netherlands on penalties in the semi-finals. Peter Schmeichel saved the penalty from Marco van Basten, so that's great. And then they went to the final and they beat Germany 2-0.
And this
That's
is 90s Germany, who were very, very good.
exactly. So that's probably the last time we'll see a team that didn't qualify for a tournament to actually win a tournament.
Yeah, that's a good, like, good trivia question.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Denmark.
some outrageous ones there.
I've always liked the Denmark jersey, with the arrows.
The arrows, yeah.
Yeah,
Some
on this, yeah,
pattern
on
on
the shoulders and sleeves. Yeah,
the sleeves, right? Yeah, correct. That was nice. I've actually got a Peter Schmeichel Denmark goalkeeper jersey at home.
really. What color is it?
Yeah, it's black with like confetti looking colors all over the jersey. You know how in the 90s jerseys, goalkeeper jerseys especially, were pretty like loud.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, in the designs. Yeah,
I cannot imagine Schmeichel in any jersey except for green.
I think sometimes yellow, right?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't realize that Peter Schmeichel saved that penalty, and I guess that brings us to the other obvious shock championship campaign, and
Mm-hmm.
that's Kasper Schmeichel, his son, with Leicester City a few years ago in 2015-16.
You want to hear a joke?
Always.
So Peter Schmeichel won the Premier League with Manchester United, and he went on to have a son, Kasper Schmeichel, who also went on to win the Premier League. And in this space of time, Liverpool didn't win a single Premier League.
Very good. Yes. I
Yeah,
hadn't thought about it that way, but wow. Yep. Yep. Yep.
yeah, yeah. So that's how long it was. We've plenty of Liverpool, friends, but yeah, I just couldn't help it. So anyway,
Very
yes,
good.
Kasper Schmeichel, Kasper Schmeichel.
Yeah. So Leicester's 15-16 championship season. Oh, what a rush that was. I mean, I was working in TV at the time, and we were covering Premier League every weekend, as you do. I don't know if people realize, but when you look at the Premier League, especially on a Saturday, a lot of games are played at the same time, correct?
Mm.
And so in this day and age, it usually falls to the individual broadcaster to choose which game that they're showing. So where I was, it took months for them to realize that, hang on, Leicester are doing really well. We need to stop showing, City and Arsenal and Liverpool and Chelsea and United, and we need to focus on Leicester, who are the leaders. And it was always with the mentality of, we need to watch Leicester because that they're gonna slip up. They can't win the league, so we need to be watching them to see them finally drop. They never did. And
Mm.
everybody who is a Premier League fan during that period has a different story of, like, when was it that you realized that Leicester were going to win the league? Not mathematically sound, but like they were top for such a long time. For you, was there a specific point where you thought Leicester are going to do it?
Yeah, I think that season Jamie Vardy broke the record for the number of consecutive matches scoring goals, right?
Yeah,
If I'm not wrong. So something like 11.
yeah, beating Van Nistelrooy.
Correct. I think it was at that point where I thought, these guys have a chance of winning it. Jamie Vardy looks like kind of a, street gangster kind of guys, right? Street thug
Yep,
kind of
yep, definitely.
yeah, body language. Looks like that. But he really picked up his game that season when he played striker for
Mm,
Leicester. And
mm.
I think it was during that record-breaking run for him personally that I thought that, he could carry this team. But well, of course, it's just not that accurate, right? He wasn't the only one carrying the team. There
Mm.
was Riyad Mahrez,
Yep, Riyad
there
Mahrez
was
was amazing. Kante.
N'Golo Kante, exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
And
And
yeah,
of
and
all people, Wes
Wes Morgan was.
Morgan. Wes
Mm.
Morgan, yeah. Right.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Wes Morgan in defense was solid. For me, it was quite late when I realized that. Well, I believed that Leicester were gonna win. It was when they beat City in the second half of the season. The game where Mahrez scores a goal
Mm.
where he sits the players down, and yeah, like that moment. But before that, also that Vardy goal against Liverpool where he volleys it from
Oh,
God knows how far.
the flying volley from
Yeah,
distance, right?
the one where Mahrez just, I think it's Mahrez. I want to say Mahrez, but maybe I'm being unfair to whoever else. But just long ball to him, and he just smashes it from such a long way. He doesn't even have to do it, but he does it because that's how full of confidence he is. Just go straight in. What a goal! What a goal!
Yeah, yeah.
Ranieri, yeah,
Yeah,
Claudio
I
Ranieri.
remember that goal. I remember that goal. It was so good. The Vardy one. Before that, everybody was talking about the big six. You know,
Mm,
previously there was the big four, then
mm,
it was the big six, and then now there's like big six and Leicester.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Party poopers, gate crashers, but they earlier you mentioned when we were talking about Greece, and 6 games, you can undeservedly win a tournament, but you cannot undeservedly win a league. Even though I believe, and I think it's very fair to say, Leicester won the league in no small part because the big six, as you mentioned, all had horrible years. United were post-Fergie decline. Pep was still dealing with Claudio Bravo at Man City, and he was being an idiot. Klopp had inherited a Brendan Rodgers squad, and still wasn't exactly how he wanted it. Jose was, that was the year Jose fell out with the physios at Chelsea.
Yep.
Arsenal, Arsenal were doing okay, and they finished second, didn't they? Arsenal.
Think so.
People always say Spurs finished third in the two-horse race that year. Yeah. So many people say Leicester winning the Premier League is the greatest sporting achievement ever seen. I'm not sure about that, but what a story, and it's very cliche and maybe like grandiose to say, but like what a journey it was.
I think regardless of whether we agree or not, on whether it's the greatest sporting achievement of all time, it's definitely up there, right? It's
Mm.
definitely high up there on the list. And in some ways, it is a little similar to what Leverkusen has achieved in the league. I mean, I
Yes.
guess Leverkusen has done a lot better because they're still in the running for the two other cups, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
um that's one thing. But in the league itself, the story it pretty much mirrors it. Leicester was in the relegation zone the previous season.
Mm-hmm.
They had to win like what 7 out of the last 9. I mean, they didn't have to, but they did that and they got out of the relegation zone late in the season. And the next season, they go on to win the league. First, was it the first? Is it the first ever league title? I mean, top division league title.
Definitely the first Premier League, because
Yeah,
obviously
for sure. Yeah, pretty much. Struggling the previous season, winning the next season, and it's pretty much a miracle.
they beat United, they beat City, they beat Chelsea. The only team they beat Liverpool. The only team they didn't beat that year was Arsenal. Arsenal beat them twice that year. I remember we had a thing where Arsene Wenger would give us an exclusive sit down, like 45-minute interview every month. That year, he said that the fact his team beat Leicester twice, that was one of his greatest personal not achievements, but he was very proud of it. And he insinuated that, like Arsenal, we did our part to stop Leicester and everybody else failed. I can see why he's saying that, but still, it can't take anything away from Leicester. Their players, the manager Claudio Ranieri, him crying on the pitch and in the press conference. Andrea Bocelli, was it, who was singing pitchside?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think
so good.
yeah, I think I'm really happy that Ranieri was the man who did it. Always had a slight soft spot for him, especially after he was chucked aside by Chelsea or Jose.
Exactly. I didn't actually know really who he was until he got sacked by Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. I mean, Chelsea bringing in Jose led to their own period of success. But I was very happy, like you said, that Ranieri got his moment.
Agreed.
I remember a few years before
Mm-hmm.
Leicester, when Leicester won the league. Like I said before, people were saying it's the greatest ever sporting achievement, but other people were pointing to the fact that Atletico Madrid had won La Liga a few years before that,
Mm.
and
Do we really want?
Athletic.
Do you really consider this as a bit of a surprise win? I
I
mean,
think it was because La Liga dominated obviously by Barca and Real, and the 10 years, I think it was 10 years before that point, it was basically only Barca and Real winning the league. Like Ballon d'Or was just Messi and Ronaldo all the way, right? This was the period where Messi and Ronaldo each would score more than 1 goal per game, so unstoppable.
sick. Yeah.
Yeah, sick. And just the way Spanish football is or was structured in terms of finances and all, any team that wasn't Barca and Real would have a very uphill task. Because that's how the TV revenue and the money from TV rights is distributed through the league. Barca and Real literally get half of all the money, and then it's split up between everybody else. Atletico still get a bigger share than most of the others, but it's much smaller than Barca and Real. And this is already in the era of financial fair play, so they couldn't have just bought star players. But with Diego Simeone, he came in and built this team of like warriors with players like Koke and Diego Godin, and that year it was Diego Costa, the emergence of Diego Costa, and they just battled their way to a La Liga victory. Going into the final day of the season, it was still a 3-horse race in that Atletico were top, I believe Barca was second, and Real were third, but all of them could still win. And Atletico played Barca on the final day. It was 1-1 in the end. Diego Godin, is it Argentinian? Uruguayan
Yep.
central defender scoring the goal to win Atletico the title. Oh, what that was quite an epic game. I mean, 1-1 Atletico Madrid doesn't sound exciting, but just the tension, watching the game. So to me, that was a big surprise. It's, I guess, almost a big surprise as if you look at somewhere like Scotland, for example, if an Aberdeen win instead of Celtic and Rangers. That's just level of surprise to me.
That's true, I guess. Some of these leagues, the winners every year are like almost the same. You have your Bayern Munich in Germany. So if any other team, apart from Bayern actually win the Bundesliga, that's a surprise.
Yep. I mean, every year when people are talking about the Bundesliga season to come, there's one section of the chat is always who will challenge Bayern.
Yeah. And I guess it's going to be the same thing in this case, right? So Atletico really challenging the dominance of Real and Barca, who between them won the last 10 La Ligas. Yeah.
I believe that Atletico win was it should rank very high up there. Yeah. It was definitely a shock.
Okay.
I remember also working on a bit of Ligue 1 French football a few years before that, and Montpellier won the French league.
Was this the Montpellier with Olivier Giroud?
Yes, Olivier Giroud was their star player then. Because when we mentioned Wolfsburg earlier with Edin Dzeko, this sort of popped into my head. Olivier Giroud spearheading Montpellier to win the French league. And I was just looking at that Montpellier squad. It's just almost nobody has gone on to do much. But obviously Olivier Giroud, long good career with Arsenal, Chelsea, Milan, winning titles. But I remember their chairman, the end of the season, dyed his hair blue to celebrate them winning the league. This old fella. But the French league has had a few, I guess, surprise league winners over the years. In the early 2000s, there was a period where Lyon would win every year, and then since PSG were taken over by Qatar, they've won most of the years that they've had this oil money. But the year Montpellier won, that was the first year that they were flush with cash and they didn't win. I believe they were actually top of the league for a while. They sacked their manager to bring in Carlo Ancelotti, and then he lost the league. So yeah.
Oh man, I remember the period where Lyon was winning almost every year. Yeah, but I think there were a few years that Monaco won as well. I think here and there.
Yeah, and there was a Lille winning as well with Eden Hazard.
Hazard. Yeah.
And a few others. So the French league was a bit unpredictable before the Qatari investment for sure.
Yeah, I think it's nice to always see, slightly different group of teams winning the league as opposed to the traditional big winners, the big teams, that are always there.
Okay. First question is, which do you think today is the most unpredictable league?
Yeah. I think looking at the big five, like Premier League, Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga, and Liga, I think the most unpredictable would have to be either Liga or Bundesliga, right? Of course, I'm speaking about this in a year where Bayern haven't been dominating. So,
Mm.
once you take Bayern out of that guaranteed top spot, the rest of the teams are kind of like fighting for it, right? I think it's
Yep.
quite even.
Like if you take PSG out.
Yeah, PSG. Yeah, I guess so. We've gotten to a point where there are dominant teams in every league. But I would say, yeah, one of those two leagues. But to be honest, and this will, contradict what I say a little bit, but it's all kind of predictable to a very large extent for most
Mm.
years. Yep.
Hmm.
So for the whole unpredictable factor to come in, I think it's not something that we'll see every year. And there will be, some years like this year where Leverkusen emerges out of nowhere.
Mm.
Yep, to suddenly take it. And I think that's the kind of pattern that we see historically, right? So most years
Hmm.
will definitely be dominated by the expected teams. But there will be certain years like Leicester coming out, Stuttgart's, your Leverkusens, Atleticos, Montpelliers. Those will be the exceptions rather than the rule. And it's always nice
Mm.
to see some team, some sort of like a fairy tale story coming out from the ashes.
Yep. So I guess my next question, but from your answer, I can guess what your answer would be is it good if a league is unpredictable? So I guess you would say yes.
For sure, I think the unpredictable factor makes for good watching. It helps in the neutral fans' excitement for the game. Of course,
Mm.
it may not be so exciting for fans of the big clubs who are not winning.
Hmm.
It does promote banter though.
It's nice to be predictable if you're winning.
Correct. And the very fact that big clubs are failing to win makes for good talking points throughout the season as well. So I think
Like,
it's good for the game, it's good for the teams. It also helps bring a bit of hope to the smaller clubs, to
mm,
know that they
there's a
can actually,
chance.
yeah, there's a chance they can actually win something, through proper running of the business, running of the club.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be doing an episode about the Bundesliga if Bayern had won.
Exactly.
Yeah,
100%.
it is quite nice though that Granit Xhaka has left Arsenal and immediately is going to win the league, and Harry Kane left Spurs to win something and might not win anything.
Exactly. I mean, it's as if Chaka went over there to stop his North London rival from winning
Yeah.
something.
So, of all the shock surprise winners that we've mentioned,
Mm.
Greece, Denmark, we started with Leverkusen, Kaiserslautern, Stuttgart, Dortmund, Leicester, Atletico, Montpellier. One or two more. Which do you think is the biggest shock?
I would say I think I'll give two answers here. So for over the course of the season, Leicester definitely I think ranks up there for me.
Mhm.
And in terms of a tournament, Denmark actually. I really like the story
Okay.
of how a team that didn't qualify for a tournament actually went on to win it.
What would you say to people who say that they shouldn't be champions because they don't deserve to be there because they didn't qualify?
No such thing. I mean, the results speak for themselves, right? They
Mm.
won. You know,
Yep.
yeah, it was decided that they participate and they won. So I think, fair and square.
But would they be deserving?
Yeah, I mean, they won it, right? They were
But they didn't
invited.
qualify. But they didn't
Yeah, yeah,
qualify.
yeah. But extraordinary circumstances, right?
Mm. For extraordinary champions.
Yeah, I mean, they they got invited, they went in and they won fair and square.
Any shocks you think we'll see in this year's Euros?
Not at this moment, I don't think so. I mean,
Mm.
it's a really hard question to answer, to be honest. But you know what? We'll be doing an episode of a Euro preview kind of episode down the line.
Yes.
So
Looking
perhaps we can
forward
we
to it.
can yeah, we can, dive a little deeper on this.
Mm. Can you tell our listeners what other episodes we'll be doing in the next few weeks?
So in the next few weeks, you can expect to see some preview for the Champions League matches,
Mhm.
as well as a story about Mbappe, as well as a Manchester United wish list. So we're back on some Man United content.
Oh, the Man United wishlist one is going to be painful.
I I don't know. I mean,
It might be very long if
it's
there's a
always
lot that.
it's always long and it's always
Yeah.
disappointing at the end of it.
We'll also be bringing in some special guests, one or two of them maybe sometime soon.
Yes, so stay tuned and maybe give us a follow so you can get an alert when new episodes come out.
Definitely. Give us a follow, like, subscribe, click all the buttons, everything.
Yeah, all that jazz. Yeah, so if you have any questions or you want to leave any feedback for us, or if you want to leave any comments on today's episode, who do you think is the most shocking winner that you know of? Be it the league or any cup. I think do leave us a comment. Links are in the description. So till next time, goodbye.
See you.